Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. I told you we're working on some 20 gauge content, and that's what we're doing here. We recently filmed a 20 gauge buckshot video at the range, almost said 28 gauge. And the very first round we fired was probably the best one of the day. It was 16 pellets of 29 cal #1 buck. Now, the components we had in it was this stuff right here. One of my favorite powders. It is Little Gun, Hodgdon Little Gun. Awesome stuff. You can do some really crazy heavy assemblies with it. Anyway, we had, oh yeah, the number of the day was 30. I'm dropping that down to 29. We were using Josh's dad's Maverick 88 20 gauge with a 22-inch barrel. It's a youth model, but his dad did put a Mossberg 835 stock on it, so now it's full size. Just has a little bit shorter barrel than what you would otherwise have. 28 inch, 26 inch. Is this 22? We were using the stock full choke with it. Brain went blank there for a second, but already have that weird dust in here. The wad we were using was the TPS 2 3/4 inch wad. It's not actually a TPS. This is actually an OBC wad. I'm not sure why they call it a TPS. But the reason we're dropping the dust down to 29 number of the day is because with that 22-inch barrel we got a speed of 12:17. That's a little bit too fast for my liking with that short of a barrel, so I figured drop it down a grain. Maybe it'll get in that 1100s, and with a full 28-inch barrel it'd still be over 1200. Anyway, yeah, TPS 20 gauge 2 3/4 inch wad. Inside that we are using a 32 gauge nitro card. All I did was tear off one section and use the remaining two. So that's it. Besides the 29 cal, I don't know why I said that's it. The 29 cal #1 buck. 30 cal is too big. 29 fits, but it's very tight. It didn't give us any issue with the pump though. So mixed number 47 buffer. And this one is actually getting roll crimped, not fold crimped. The stack height is a little bit too tall. And yes, 29 cal is not technically #1 buck, but Federal and other brands use 28 cal and call that #1 buck. It's closer to #2 buck, which is 27 cal. But true #1 buck is 30. It doesn't fit in this wad though by 2, so 29 cal it is. And again, it is very tight. It did not give us any feeding issues in the pump. Maybe it would in a semi-auto. But if you're going to put these together, I would recommend using a pump or switch to the BP 2092 wad. The pedals on that are much thinner than the TPS here. Plus, it's a little bit longer. It may actually hold all 16 pellets inside the shot cup. The on paper, we'll show you the pattern right here in a second, excuse me. This wad holds 14 inside the shot cup with the 32 gauge nitro card. The 15th and 16th pellet are completely outside of the shot cup, and on paper we actually lost those two pellets. They were not accounted for. They could have went high, low, left, right, I don't know. So the BP 2092 might actually be the way to go. Not sure. Again, it does have thinner pedals, but we'll play a clip right now of the pattern. Here you go. 30 grains of Little Gun in a brand new primed 3-inch Fiocchi. A TPS wad, which is actually a LBC 50 or LBC wad. 4-pedal full cut, 32 gauge nitro card, 16 pellets of 29 cal #1 buck and #47 buffer. The data was everything the same, minus it had shot, not buckshot. But anyway,
pellet size is the only thing that changed.
Yeah. PSI was, I think, 9,430, 1150 FPS, and I was wrong. This is a 22-inch barrel. But, you ready, Josh?
Yeah.
1217. Didn't expect that with this this short barrel. But, how's the hull look? Beautiful. Oh, that had a roll crimp, by the way, not a fold crimp. And from what I can see, the pattern appears to be in a circle, and it looks like it's really tight right above point of aim.
Oh, looks great.
That's good to hear. I mean, well, I already knew that, but for them, it's good to hear.
It's good to confirm.
Yeah. All right, let's go check it out. I like that one.
Alrighty, guys. It looks like a beaver chewed the edge of the paper off.
Yep.
Other than that,
Didn't have a knife down here with me. Anyway, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Barring any doubles, there's 14 to 16. Try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so there's 14 of 16. Don't know where the other two are. I don't see them anywhere.
no.
Okay, so anyway, pattern measures 14 by... Is that lined up over there?
Come a little farther.
14 by 14. That's really dang good for a 20 gauge at 42 yards. That's a very good load. We did recover the wad too. What's funny about it is the gas seal is turned inside out for whatever reason. Don't know why, but it held up just fine.
How can I word this here? The inverted sphincter syndrome has not seemed to affect this pattern at all.
Inverted sphincter syndrome. Go to the hospital if you have that. So as you can see, that was a really good pattern. But anyway, guys, let's start this, well, the main intent of the video anyway. We need our TPS 20 gauge 2 3/4 inch wad. My fingers are too fat. Need one of Gary's. There it is. Reach back here and grab it. Wad tampers. Facebook.com/Gary.D.Caskey if you want any of his tools. He makes things such as wad tampers, he calls them nudges, wad slitters, wad trimmers, and these are adjustable, so are the trimmers. You can make any length shell you want with a perfectly even cut, or slit your wad with perfectly even pedals, and he does 2 pedal, 3 pedal, and 4. Anyway, check out Gary's tools, they are awesome. But we have our wad in place. Now we just need a 32 gauge nitro card. Why 32 gauge? Well, because I use them for my 32 gauge. Also, they are the exact right diameter for a 20 gauge non-tox wad. So next, we need 14 pellets of this 29 cal number 1 buck. I'm calling it number 1 buck anyway. Again, they are tight. You will need a wad nudger or wad tamper or Sharpie, anything to help those seat. Okay, I've got all 16 pellets in here. Maybe you can see through the plastic. The top row right here is actually above the wad, which ends right here. I hope you can see that on camera. I can kind of see it. But yeah, all 16 pellets are in here. If we look at the side of the hull, you can see it is wanting to bulge the hull out, but it's not. Again, we had no chambering issues in a pump. Went in like butter, came out like butter. So, by the way, the PSI on this, I have BPI's Advantages Manual. They have a 1 3/8 ounce assembly for 20 gauge using the BP 2092 wad. No, excuse me, it's the CSD 20 wad. And it's listed at, yeah, 1 3/8 ounces. It's 9,410 PSI, I believe it was. Let me actually get the manual and tell you. Okay, so for a brand new Fiocchi 3-inch 20 gauge, 30 of the little gun with the CSD 23 wad, that's the CSD 3-inch 20 gauge wad, slit 1 3/8 ounces, does 9,400 PSI, I was close, and 1150 FPS. It's the very bottom one right there. So all we're doing here is switching the wad out and switching the shot for buckshot. Shouldn't make a massive difference in pressure. That is a very, very low pressure assembly. And it shot very, very well. No issues at all. The hull looked perfect. And, well, I know no one's wondering this, but 24 gauge data does exist too. I hope you can make any of this out. But yeah, 24 gauge data does exist too, as does 32 gauge. All of it is inside this manual. I love this thing. And in case you're wondering, some of you might actually be wondering this, steel shot data does exist too. This is, what is this? 10 gauge steel shot data. The Advantages Manual has, I think it's over 3,000, yeah, over 3,200 recipes. Very, very handy thing to have. So anyway, yeah, about 9,400 PSI with the original wad. But we are using mix number 47 buffer. The payload weight on this as it sits right now is 1.32 ounces, which is below ounce and 3/8. Adding buffer to it will bring it up to exactly a 1 3/8 ounce assembly. Let me grab my vibrating massager here. It's upside down, but who cares. Vibrate that down. You guys seen how fast that went. Need a little bit more. Those top two pellets are loose in there. They are not inside the wad. Dump a little bit more buffer in. Shake that down. And the top two are now poking through. For an overshot card, I'm just using a 20 gauge Maxi Nitro card. I'm tearing off a thin section of it. About that much right there. Probably 10 thou. And using that for an overshot card. And there it is. Very simple, but also kind of weird to put together. The pellets are very tight in that wad. Anyway, I'll roll this up off camera and get back with you guys. Alright, so here's the end result. Firstly, I want to take a look at the side of the hull right here. Again, you can see it ever so slightly, just barely bulging out the side of the hull right here. But again, we had no issues chambering it, cycling it. But very, very beautiful roll on that. No problem there at all. Hull looks great. And it patterned really good. One more thing I want to show you guys. A roll crimped 3-inch shell is almost the same length as a fold crimped 3.5. This is 10 gauge. And line up the rims right here. You can see the roll crimped 3-inch is very close in height to the fold crimped 3.5. Yeah. So, some semi-autos have trouble cycling roll crimped 3-inch shells if they only have a 3-inch chamber. Just want to make you guys aware of that. As always, test out your tools. What I was getting at there is I would not take this on a hunt and just expect it to cycle in your tool. Make sure it works first, because again, some 3-inch guns have trouble cycling roll crimped 3-inch shells. While we're going over that, why not do the opposite? This is a fold crimped 3-inch. This is 12 gauge. Here's a roll crimped 3-inch. You can see that the roll crimped 3-inch is a lot longer than the fold crimped 3-inch. Big difference. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Certainly pretty fun to make. I know we don't do a lot with 20 gauge. We've had people ask us why we don't do a lot with 20 gauge. And honestly, it's because neither one of us we don't really care for 20 gauge as much as we do with 16, 12, and 10. The bigger gauges just have more potential to us. Although 20 gauge, certainly no slouch. It's a great caliber. But anyway, please like and subscribe. We always appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you. And if you want to, go check out our Patreon. It's as low as $1 a month, and you guys get early access to content. A link to that, as well as a link to our Rumble, Instagram, and merch store will be in the description below. But other than that, you guys take it easy, and we'll see you in the next one.